Yo, what's good, boys? It's Chap MMA. I'm back with another video. Today, we're going to be talking about rematches that we do want and we don't want in 2025. I got a few matchups that I got to talk about in this video, man. We got a lot of changes that just happened last night, a lot of updates with fights, so I had to switch it around a little bit. But, there's still some good matchups that we need in 2025, and there are some very bad matchups that we just don't care about and we don't want in 2025. So, let's get right on into it, boys. Before we go ahead and get into it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's start it off, boys, with the first fight. That is Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze 2. Has to be one of the worst rematches, man, that they've booked. This is a rematch that is already booked. It's not even something that we don't want. It's something that we don't want and we have to go through, man. It's booked as a fight night, 5 rounds, Apex main event, man. Just a fight it's just not necessary. It's not necessary. It's useless when we look at the rankings, man. Marvin Vettori's been sitting out for a year and a half, already beat Roman Dolidze. Pretty clear win. Roman Dolidze is an aging middleweight, man. Sure, he's on a 2-fight win streak, but why give him Marvin Vettori rematch as a main event at an Apex? It doesn't make sense. It's got no hype behind it. I don't know a single person that is excited for this matchup at all. I think everybody I've talked to, everybody I've seen posts about this, man. Everybody just seems like, why? Everybody's just like, why? Like, why would we book this, man? Why would we book this? Main event. It just doesn't make sense. 3 rounder or a 5 rounder, outcome's gonna be the same. It's probably gonna go the distance. It's probably gonna go on the side of Marvin Vettori. Dude has like an insane chin. Hasn't fought in a year and a half. He'll probably come back, get a boring unanimous decision over Roman Dolidze, man. Shut him down as a prospect and just hold that number. I believe he's number 7, man. He's just gonna hold that spot in the top 10, which is just boring. It's lame. We don't need it at middleweight. We don't need this rematch at middleweight. It's useless. Also, I am starting off with the fights that we don't really want to see in 2025, the rematches we don't want to see in 2025, and then I'll move into the ones that are more interesting and we do want to see, just to end it off on a good note. So this is a fight that I don't know anybody that wants to see this fight. This is a boring ass fight, man. A boring ass rematch. This is just completely pointless. Division wise, rankings wise, hype wise, there was zero hype behind this rematch. It just doesn't make sense for the UFC, and it doesn't make sense to see after a couple of years that this fight has happened. Marvin Vettori, I believe, has only fought once or twice. And I think he fought twice since fighting Roman Dolidze the last time. He's super inactive, man. He's coming off of that layoff, and he's coming back to fight Roman Dolidze. He'll probably beat him by unanimous decision. But we will move on to the next rematch that we don't want, man. And this is a rough one because I'm a diehard Charles Oliveira fan. I am an absolute diehard Charles Oliveira fan. If you know me, if you've seen my videos, you know I love Charles Oliveira to the death, man, to the grave. I love Charles Oliveira, my favorite fighter of all time, without a doubt. But I don't want to see him rematch Islam Makhachev, man. The first fight happened about 3-4 years ago now. For the lightweight title, Islam took that title from Oliveira. He was number 1 contender Oliveira versus number 4 contender Makhachev. It was a good fight, but it wasn't close. It wasn't as close as I was hoping it would be. Charles got finished. He got choked out in, I believe it was the second round, got clipped, got dropped, and Islam was the only dude that has ever followed Oliveira to the ground, to the mat, broke through his guard, got the arm triangle, and just the pressure that he put on Oliveira. I mean, Oliveira was trying to get out, had to tap him basically immediately, man. So I just don't think this fight would be any different. I love Charles Oliveira. I want him to get the lightweight belt back, but it's going to be a tough task unless Islam moves up, and now Ilya's in the division, man. And now Ilya's in the division. So it makes it even more difficult. If anything, they're going to be booking Islam Makhachev versus Ilya Taporia. So I don't know how this is going to match up. We don't really want to see this. As a diehard Oliveira fan, I don't want to see this. I don't know any fans that really want to see this fight. I think a lot of people know that the outcome would be relatively the same, man, as well as the fact that Oliveira is aging. I think it's better for Oliveira to take super fights, fights that will really cement his legacy as one of the best lightweights. And I don't think rematching Makhachev and getting finished again is the best route for that, man. But obviously, it has been a while since they fought. Maybe the outcome could be different, but I'm putting this as a rematch that I don't want to see. I don't think the fans really want to see. I mean, I know the fans want to see it, man. I know the fans want to see Charles Oliveira obviously try to get that belt back, but I mean, fans wise of being like, okay, there's a solid chance Oliveira wins. I don't think many fans will be behind that and will be really thinking that Oliveira can take this fight and finish Makhachev or bring him to a decision. I just don't see it happening. So we will move on to the next rematch that nobody really wants to see, man. And that's Piotr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili, man. I know I know people love Piotr Yan. I love Piotr Yan. His style at bantamweight is beautiful. His boxing is crisp. His fight style, his trips, all of his moves at bantamweight. His style in general. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful fight style, but it just does not match well against a guy in Merab Dvalishvili that has an absolute gas tank that is just unstoppable. An unstoppable gas tank. He shot 40 takedowns on Piotr Yan in their first fight. He 50-45 them, man. 50-45 them. Absolutely dominant performance. Completely swole up Piotr Yan's eye. Piotr Yan had basically zero, maybe 1 to 0%, success rate throughout this fight, man. 0% success rate, honestly. I can't even say 1%, man. He really didn't get much going. Landed a couple shots on Dvalishvili, but anytime where he tried to blitz in and really land a combination, he would get a takedown shot on him, man. 25 minutes of pure takedown defense. He had to try to defend takedowns, try to stay on his feet for the entirety of 25 minutes, man. And that's difficult to do against Merab, whose gas tank is literally, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't even make sense, man. This guy's resting heart rate is like 40 or 50. It doesn't make sense. It genuinely doesn't make sense. But this rematch is probably going to get booked. Let's be honest, it's probably going to get booked. People obviously love Piotr Yan. I love Piotr Yan, but I just don't think this is a fun rematch, man. I know it's been a couple of years, but I don't think it's really going to change much. Honestly, that first fight was dominant by Merab. Merab's only gotten better. He's got a huge momentum. I know Piotr Yan's getting a bit of a momentum back, but I don't think Yan's really leveled up his game enough to beat a guy in Merab who's going to be doing the exact same thing. He can do the exact same game plan he had in the first fight. His game plan for almost every fight: wear out his opponent, get the takedowns, and just kind of dominate on the ground, tire him out, outlast them, look like the fresher fighter to sway the judges, which he always does. He always does. Piotr Yan, he doesn't really weigh out that time too well. He had a good win against Figgy, good win against Song Yadong, but I don't think he beats Merab in a rematch, man. I don't think it's a rematch that many people want to see. But we will move on to the rematches that I think are some good rematches, some rematches that people want to see in 2025. And we're starting it off with Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan 2, man. I know what people are going to say. Arman Tsarukyan pulled out, man. He doesn't deserve the rematch, blah, 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 all this shit. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, this is one of the best rematches you can make in the UFC right now. I know Ilya's moved up. Everybody just is completely disregarding Arman Tsarukyan as a lightweight contender, as a lightweight challenger, and as a rematch against Islam. Their fight got canceled. The rematch got canceled. Arman, injured himself. We don't know exactly to the extent of what happened, why he pulled out one day in advance, man. It doesn't make any sense. But nonetheless, even though people are gonna say he doesn't deserve it, Dana's gonna say he doesn't deserve it. He's got to fight before fighting Islam. This is still a fight that's entertaining, man. This is still a fight we need to see. These guys haven't fought in 5 years. When they fought, it was Arman's debut, man. It was literally his debut fight. All right, it's been 5 years. A lot's changed. Arman's been on an absolute tear. Islam's been on an absolute tear. It is still a fresh rematch to make because both guys have leveled up their game like an insane amount. So this is a fresh rematch. This is what we need, man. Rematches that are fresh, that feel like, oh, they didn't just fight the other day. You know what I mean? And it doesn't feel like they're the same fighters they were in their last fight. It feels like they've evolved, and they've definitely evolved. Both guys here have evolved like crazy. Islam Makhachev, pound for pound number one king, man. And Arman Tsarukyan, great tear at lightweight right now. He's destroying everybody. Close fight with Charles, but nonetheless, man, I think he deserves that rematch. And I think it's a rematch that people want to see, even if they're like, oh, whatever, ignore him. He pulled out, whatever. I think people would still be hyped if this rematch was booked in 2025. So book this one, man. But we move on to the next rematch, which I think we need in 2025. And that's Movsar Evloev versus Diego Lopez rematch. This is a fight that also needs to be rematched. Diego Lopez is his first fight in the UFC. His first official fight besides his Dana White Contender Series fight was with Movsar Evloev on short notice, man. and Diego Lopez gave him a fucking war. Give him a fucking war, man. It was a close fight. It was a close fight. I did score those rounds to Movzar, but it was a close fight nonetheless, man. And it's been years since these guys fought, at least a few years. And I mean, Movzar only fought, I think, 2 or 3 times since Lopez has fought, and Lopez has fought 6 times or 5 or 6 times since fighting Movzar, man. And he is now challenging for the featherweight title against freaking Alexander Volkanovski, man. So Diego Lopez has a chance to take the belt. If he takes the belt, I think they book Movzar Evloev, Diego Lopez 2, the rematch for the featherweight belt, and I think Diego Lopez has a solid chance to beat Movzar Evloev, man. But this is a rematch that is fresh as well. This is a rematch that, the first one was close. It was very close. I mean, Diego Lopez, I believe, was a 5-1 underdog. He was a huge underdog. I mean, Movzar was an insane favorite, and it was a close fight. It's a very close fight. So a rematch where these guys have, it's been years, and they'd be fighting for the belt as well. I mean, that's what we need. This is the kind of rematches we need. This is a fresh rematch, a rematch that people will want to see. People will get hyped for because it's been a while, man. It's been a while in a 5-rounder. Both guys have evolved. They've both evolved like crazy. Movzar's gotten better on the feet. His wrestling's just as good as before. Diego Lopez has crisp boxing now, crisp striking, man. He looks great, and on the ground he's always dangerous. So this would be a good matchup to make featherweight for the title if Diego Lopez beats Volkanovski, of course. But if Volk takes that, I think they're going to match up Movzar versus Volk. We'll see. But I think if Diego Lopez wins, which honestly, I'm sorry, Volk. I think early pick, I'm taking Diego Lopez. But, you know, if Diego Lopez wins, make this for the featherweight title, man. Movzar Evloev, Diego Lopez 2, the rematch. It's a good fight to make, man. But we will move on to the final fight that I think we need to see. The final rematch we need to see in 2025, without a doubt, man, is Max freaking Holloway versus Charles Oliveira 2. This is a fight we need. We need. It has been literal years. It has been years since these guys fought. The last time they fought, when they fought, they were at featherweight. They were at featherweight, man. Both guys have gone on absolute tears. I mean, Charles Oliveira became champ. Max Holloway, champ at featherweight. Charles Oliveira, champ at lightweight. They went on absolute tears. They're finally reaching their mid 30s, and there's no better time for these guys to fight. Max Holloway just moved up to lightweight, officially moved up to lightweight. Book this fight as a 5-round co-main. This is such a good fight. If they fumble this fight, if the UFC, if Dana White and Hunter Campbell fumble this fight, I'm gonna crash out. I'm gonna have a generational crash out, man. I will genuinely send the UFC 10,000 emails, man. I will crash out if this fight is not booked in 2025 or maybe 2026. But they're fumbling if it's not booked in 2025. International Fight Week, book this fight, man. This is such a good fight. This is a fight of the night, fight of the year contender, man, for the BMF as well. For the BMF as well. I mean, come on, man. Come on. This is a no-brainer. We need this fight. This is genuinely a legacy fight. We talk legacy fights. This is a legacy fight to make. First fight was a fluke. I mean, I'm not going to say it was a complete fluke, but Charles Oliveira had an injury. I believe it was something to do with his breathing, his esophagus. Weird injury, man. People were calling him a quitter. He is now an evolved fighter, man. He's a completely different guy, completely different fighter. So is Max Holloway for that reason, I mean, he just took a tough fight against Emporia, but it's a good matchup, man. It's a good rematch. It's a fresh rematch because it's been so long, and both these guys have built legacies. They've cemented themselves in the Hall of Fame. So book this legacy fight for the BMF title, man. But that's all I got for you boys. Without a doubt, man, this is such a goat. This is such a goated matchup. Like, if they don't book this, man, I will actually crash out. I will actually fucking crash out. But I will stop with the rant, man. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop your comments down below if you guys agree with my rematches and the rematch that we want and we don't want for 2025. If you guys have any other ones, drop down in the comments, and I will see you boys in the next one. See you.